Hi everyone, I'm very happy to be part of the final stage of the Dutch Project Management Research Excellence Award. Today I'll be presenting my research An Optimistic Approach to Complexity, which I conducted at TU Delft in collaboration with the engineering consulting firm Witteveen and Bos. If we go back to the very beginning of the COVID pandemic, do you remember what it felt hearing that you need to follow your university courses or work from home, or that you need to deliver a project in Berlin while working from your own place and collaborating with colleagues located miles away? Although the tools to work remotely were there, the pandemic served as an opportunity to further develop them to satisfy our needs. And what we thought to be very complex at the beginning helped us save time, reduce emissions, and increase productivity. So who said complexity is just bad? In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. At the project level, we always hear about risks. According to the Project Management Institute, risk is an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative impact on project objectives. So risk can be a threat and an opportunity. And we know that complexity in projects is a major source of risks. Hence, we can say that complexity is a source of opportunities. In my presentation, I will show you how project managers should shift from fearing or trying to reduce complexity to actually exploit it. But first, let me briefly introduce myself. Last summer, I graduated from the Master Construction Management and Engineering at TU Delft, and I'm currently working as a junior project manager on a data center project in Berlin. I enjoy working in a multicultural environment and discovering new cultures and ways of thinking. I always like to keep a positive attitude towards problem, and this was one of the reasons for choosing this research topic that I will be presenting today. During my presentation, I will be answering the following questions. How can project managers exploit complexities to find opportunities? To do so, I will first walk you through the challenges behind having a threat-focused approach to risk and practice, or why we usually identify negative risks but ignore the positive ones. Then I will provide some recommendations on how to start identifying positive risks. And finally, I will show you how some complexities in a project can result in opportunities using the technique that I developed, which is the complexity-driven opportunity identification technique, or CDOIT. After interviewing more than 15 project managers, I identified many barriers that explained why the focus is always on the negative risks in projects, and we ignore the positive side of risk. I will mention here two important barriers. First, the risk language. For most people, the word risk has a negative connotation and is perceived as the opposite of opportunity, while in fact, risk can be negative or positive, and the distinction should be made between threat and opportunity, negative and positive risks, and keep in mind that risk management includes both threat and opportunity management. Another barrier identified is psychology. By human nature, the drive to survive is stronger than the attraction of growth. Surviving in a project means mitigating the negative risks to stay on track and prevent any negative impact, such as delays or cost overrun. And improving or growing is something extra or nice to have, and means identifying opportunities and looking at chances to thrive. To all project managers, if you look at a risk register in one of your projects, how many opportunities can you identify compared to the threats? So, before looking into the opportunities that result from complexities, I will show you which type of complexity I'm referring to. A list of technical, organizational, and external complexities was developed based on a study conducted on many projects and in different industries. And here you can see the list of the most common complexity elements identified. For instance, the high number of project goals is a technical complexity. The lack of resource and skills availability is an organizational complexity. And the high number of stakeholders involved in a project is categorized as an external complexity. How can we exploit these complexities and turn them into something beneficial, positive? The answer is coming next. First, The project team needs to have a common understanding that an opportunity is a risk and how it is related to the project objectives, which can be internal and benefit the team or the organization, or also external and benefit the client or any other stakeholder. Then, the team must identify these objectives at the beginning of the project and throughout the project based on the circumstances to be able to know which opportunities we are looking for. Once these are clearly defined, the team can organize an opportunity session in which complexity-driven opportunity identification technique, or the see-do-it that I mentioned, can be used. The first step requires assessing the project complexity using the framework that I showed you of technical, organizational, and external complexity. By scoring these elements and focusing on the top ones, because these have the most impact on your project. Also, the relevant strengths and weaknesses of the project team with regard to these complexities should be determined. This will be better illustrated by the example that I will provide next. In the next step, the project objectives that the team wants to achieve are identified. And finally, by having the complexity elements in the back of your mind and looking into the future possible positive impact, opportunities can be identified. As a first example, a complexity could be that the project duration is so long and the project involves a lot of documentation and information sharing, and the company does not have a proper information management system in place, for instance. That's considered an internal weakness, as I demonstrated before. The objective could be to have an efficient document control and management process in place that will save time during the execution of the project. And since the project has a long duration, an opportunity could be to implement an ISO standard for information management and learning along the way. This will not only improve the process and sharing information and saving time in that project, but will also turn an internal weakness to a strength that can be used in future projects. Another example is having a high number of stakeholders involved in the project with conflicting interests. An opportunity here could be to increase the scope of the project in a way to integrate as many stakeholder demands as possible. For instance, if the project is about constructing a dam and generating electricity, and you have many stakeholders unsatisfied and opposing the project, like the inhabitants in the surrounding area, because the construction of the dam will damage the landscape, an opportunity here is to increase the project scope even more from the infrastructure itself to an area development approach to include recreational activities, economic benefits for fishers, and more. This way, more stakeholders are satisfied since their needs are taken into account, and this in turn will have a positive impact on the project by reducing objections. To conclude, complexities in projects are facts and considered a major source of risks. Since risk can be both positive or negative, complexities can be also a source of opportunities. Hence, instead of attempting to reduce them or reduce their impact on the project by mitigating the negative risks, these should be better managed by also looking at the positive side. This can be done by assessing the complexity of your project at the beginning, determining what objectives you want to achieve, and then looking at the various ways and possibilities to achieve these objectives. So, for all project managers professionals, change your risk approach from a threat-focused one to a one that focuses also on opportunities, and from a pessimistic to an optimistic approach to complexity. Thank you very much.